A crippling winter storm is barreling toward the United States right now. Record-breaking snowfall, catastrophic ice accumulation, power outages that could last for days. And here's the shocking part. The storm system is still 4,000 miles away over the Pacific Ocean, yet meteorologists are already seeing the strongest forecast agreement in years. What does that tell you about what is coming? Right now, 50 to 70% of the southeastern United States faces winter storm conditions this weekend. That is not a winter weather advisory. That is a full-blown winter storm warning zone stretching from Texas to the Carolinas. Cities like Raleigh, Charlotte, Richmond, and Greensboro are all in the crosshairs. But here is what nobody is talking about yet. This is not just about snow. The European weather models are showing something extraordinary. A mega high-pressure system measuring 1,040 to 1,050 millibars is descending from the Arctic. To put that in perspective, that would shatter high-pressure records across multiple states. Why does that matter? Because that kind of Arctic blast combined with moisture from the south creates the perfect recipe for what forecasters call a catastrophic ice event. And the projections are terrifying. Some areas could see 1 full inch of freezing rain accumulation. Let me explain what that means in real terms. A 1/4 inch of ice can snap power lines. 1/2 inch can bring down trees. 1 inch? That paralyzes entire regions for weeks. Roads become impassable. Emergency vehicles cannot respond. And here is the part that should concern everyone. The current forecast shows this ice zone stretching from northeast Georgia through the Carolinas with significant impacts extending all the way to Charleston, Savannah, and Myrtle Beach. But wait, there is more critical information you need to know at the 30-second mark. The timing of this storm creates a compounding crisis. It arrives Friday and does not leave until Monday or Tuesday. That is 4 to 5 days of continuous winter weather. Schools will close, airports will shut down, and with temperatures potentially staying below freezing for an extended period, any ice that accumulates is not melting anytime soon. Now, I know what you are thinking. You have heard storm forecasts before that did not pan out. So why is this one different? Let me show you the data that has meteorologists across the country alarmed. The European model, the American GFS model, and even the AI-powered forecasting systems are all in agreement. That almost never happens 5 days out. When you see this kind of model consensus at this range, you need to pay attention. The storm ingredients are already visible on satellite imagery. There is a low-pressure system developing near the coast of California. Meteorologists call it a Baja low. That system is going to tap into massive moisture from the Pacific Ocean and drive it eastward. At the exact same time, the polar vortex is dipping south, bringing some of the coldest air on Earth down into Canada and the United States. When these two systems collide somewhere over the southern plains, that is when the fireworks begin. Here is where it gets really interesting, and this is information you will not hear anywhere else yet. The ensemble models, which run dozens of simulations to account for uncertainty, are showing an 80 to 90% probability of at least 1 inch of winter precipitation from Oklahoma through Tennessee and into North Carolina. Think about that for a moment. 5 days before the storm even begins, computers are already that confident about significant impacts. The last time we saw ensemble agreement this strong, it was for Hurricane Katrina. Let me break down the timeline so you know exactly when to expect what. Wednesday starts calm. Most of the country sees normal winter weather. Maybe some snow showers in the Midwest, rain in the South, nothing concerning. But Thursday, that is when the Arctic air begins its invasion. Temperatures will plummet 20 to 30 degrees in just hours. Parts of the Midwest could see wind chills approaching -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. That alone is dangerous, but it is just setting the stage. Friday morning, the southern system activates. The first winter precipitation breaks out across the southern plains. Oklahoma City could see its first significant snow by Friday afternoon. By Friday evening, the storm expands. Northern Texas, southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana all start seeing a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. The question everyone in these areas should be asking right now, do I have enough supplies to shelter in place for 5 days? Saturday is when this storm reaches its peak intensity across the southeast. And here is the plot twist that will surprise most people. The Carolinas might not get the worst of the snow. They could get something far more destructive: ice. Lots of it. The current models show a setup called cold air damming, where Arctic air gets trapped east of the Appalachian Mountains. Warm, moist air rides up and over that cold layer, and when precipitation falls through it, it freezes on contact with everything it touches. Imagine this scenario. You wake up Saturday morning in Charlotte or Greenville or Columbia. It is sleeting. By mid-morning, it transitions to freezing rain. By afternoon, every surface is coated in a thick layer of ice. Trees begin snapping under the weight. Power lines start coming down. By evening, hundreds of thousands of people are without electricity, and it is still sleeting. That scenario is not fear-mongering. That is what a 1-inch ice accumulation event looks like, and multiple models are predicting exactly that. Meanwhile, further north, Virginia and West Virginia could hit the jackpot if you are a snow lover. The GFS ensemble mean is already showing 6 to 12 inches of snow across this region. Some individual model runs have suggested totals exceeding 18 inches in the higher elevations. Cities like Charlottesville, Lynchburg, and Roanoke need to be preparing for potentially historic snowfall. When was the last time you saw forecast confidence this high for that kind of snow in Virginia? You probably have to go back years, maybe even a decade. But here is what concerns me most as someone who has been analyzing weather data for over a decade, even as a teenager tracking storms. This cold air outbreak is not a quick hit and run. The models show high pressure dominating the eastern United States for days after the storm passes. That means temperatures stay well below freezing. In practical terms, if ice accumulates on Saturday, it might not melt until Wednesday or Thursday of the following week. Imagine being without power for that long in January. No heat, frozen pipes, impassable roads. This is why preparation cannot wait. Let me give you specific actions you should take right now, today, before this storm arrives. First, charge every electronic device you own. Phones, tablets, laptops, portable batteries, everything. If the power goes out, those devices become your lifeline to information and emergency services. Second, fill your bathtub with water. If you lose power, you might also lose running water as pumping stations fail. That bathtub water can be used for flushing toilets and washing. Third, gather all your medications in one place and make sure you have at least a week's supply. Pharmacies might not be accessible if roads ice over. Fourth, prepare a cold weather kit for your car right now. Blankets, flashlights, snacks, water, a first aid kit, and a shovel. If you get stranded or trapped, these supplies could save your life. Fifth, identify which rooms in your home you can seal off and heat with alternative sources if needed. A small space heater running off a generator or even just body heat in a small insulated room can keep you alive if the power is out for days. Sixth, clear your yard of any loose objects or dead tree branches. High winds combined with ice loading will turn these into projectiles or create additional hazards. Now, I promised you at the beginning that I would tell you exactly where this storm is heading, and we are at the 5-minute mark, so let me deliver on that promise. Based on the current model consensus, here is my forecast for each region. Texas and Oklahoma. Expect this storm to begin Friday afternoon and continue through Saturday. Snow totals of 4 to 8 inches are likely across the Red River Valley and Oklahoma City metro. Ice accumulation of 1/4 to 1/2 inch is possible in the warmest areas. Prepare for power outages and impassable roads. Arkansas and Tennessee, you are in the bullseye for the worst ice potential. Northern Arkansas could see near 1 inch of ice accumulation, which would be absolutely devastating. Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville should all prepare for significant winter weather, though the exact precipitation type will vary by location. Nashville might see more snow mixing in. Memphis could be all ice. The uncertainty at this range is still high, but the certainty of major impacts is not in question. Carolinas and Georgia. This is where the forecast gets tricky, and frankly, this is where I am most concerned. If the storm tracks slightly north, Charlotte and the Piedmont see mostly ice with catastrophic potential for power outages. If it tracks slightly south, you might see more of a snow and sleet mix, which would be less destructive but still disruptive. Either way, significant winter weather is coming. The upstate of South Carolina and northeast Georgia need to prepare for the ice scenario. 1 inch of freezing rain is currently showing up on the ensemble means for this area. Virginia and the mid-Atlantic, current data favors you for the biggest snow totals. The European AI model is particularly aggressive, showing this as a major snowstorm for Interstate 95, from Richmond through Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and even into New York City. If that solution pans out, we could be talking about 8 to 16 inches of snow for major metropolitan areas. That would bring travel to a standstill across the entire eastern seaboard. Airports would close. Interstates would become parking lots. But here's another twist in this story that you need to know about. Some of the extended models are hinting at a second winter storm following right behind this one, potentially arriving Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. It is too early to have any confidence in that system, but if it materializes, it would compound the misery. Imagine trying to recover from one major ice storm and then another wave of winter weather hits before you have even restored power from the first one. That is worst-case scenario, but it is on the table. Let me address something I know many of you are thinking. You are wondering if this forecast will bust like so many others seem to. And that is a fair question. Weather forecasting is not perfect, especially at 5-day ranges. Systems can shift north or south. They can speed up or slow down. Precipitation types can change. But here is what I can tell you with absolute confidence. Some part of the south and southeast is going to get hammered by winter weather this weekend. The model agreement is too strong to ignore. The atmospheric setup is too classic. The only questions that remain are the specific details. Will Charlotte get 8 inches of snow or 1 inch of ice? Will Virginia see 12 inches or 18 inches? Will the storm track favor the Carolinas or the Mid-Atlantic? Those are the things that will become clearer over the next 48 hours. But the overall message does not change. Prepare now. Do not wait until Friday when everyone else is panic buying at the grocery store and the shelves are empty. Speaking of grocery stores, let me tell you what you actually need to stock up on because most people get this wrong. Forget the bread and milk. Think about foods that do not require cooking or refrigeration. Peanut butter, crackers, canned goods, protein bars, dried fruit. If your power goes out, your refrigerator becomes useless within hours, and your stove might be electric. You need foods you can eat cold straight out of the package. Also, stock up on water. A gallon per person per day is the recommendation. For a 5-day event, that is 5 gallons per person, here is something most people do not think about: hygiene supplies. If you lose running water, how will you maintain sanitation? Baby wipes, hand sanitizer, trash bags, and toilet paper become critical. Also consider your pets. Do you have enough food and water for them? What about any elderly neighbors who might need help? In a crisis like this, communities come together, but you have to think ahead. Now let me show you something that illustrates just how rare and significant this setup is. The forecast high-pressure system approaching 1,050 millibars would be strong enough to set all-time records for several states. The last time we saw Arctic air this aggressive was in January of 2014 during the polar vortex event. Some of you might remember that. Chicago hit -16 degrees. Atlanta was paralyzed by ice. This setup has similar characteristics, but it is lasting longer and combining with more moisture. The meteorological term for what we are seeing is called a Miller A storm, where a low-pressure system tracks from the southern plains northeast along the Appalachians. This track is notorious for producing massive ice storms in the Carolinas and Virginia because of that cold air damming effect I mentioned earlier. Some of the worst ice storms in history have followed this exact pattern. The ice storm of 2002, the ice storm of 2005, both were Miller A systems. Both caused billions of dollars in damage and left people without power for weeks. But here is where I want to inject some hope into this forecast. These models are showing the worst-case scenario potential. Reality often ends up being somewhat less severe. Maybe the moisture does not quite make it as far north as predicted. Maybe the cold air is not quite as entrenched. Maybe the storm speeds through faster than expected. There are lots of ways this could trend less impactful. I am not trying to scare you. I am trying to prepare you. There is a difference. The professional meteorologists at the Weather Prediction Center, the people whose job it is to issue winter storm watches and warnings, are already highlighting this event. Their Day 5 outlook shows 50 to 70% probabilities across a huge swath of the country. They do not do that lightly. These are the best forecasters in the world, and they are concerned. That should tell you something. Here is what is going to happen over the next few days from a forecasting standpoint. Tonight and tomorrow, we will watch for any shifts in the model data. By Tuesday, we should have much higher confidence in the storm track and precipitation types. Winter storm watches could be issued as early as Wednesday for the first areas to be impacted. By Thursday, the situation will be coming into sharp focus and final preparations need to be complete. I also want to address something for those of you in the northern states who might be thinking this does not affect you. This Arctic outbreak is coming for everyone. Minneapolis could see -20-degree wind chills. Chicago could drop below zero. Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, all facing dangerous cold even before the storm system arrives. Make sure your heating system is working properly. Make sure you have a backup plan if it fails. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills dozens of people every winter when folks try to heat their homes with unsafe methods. For those in the South who are not used to winter weather, let me give you some specific advice. Ice on roads is completely different from snow. You cannot drive on it, period. Even four-wheel drive vehicles cannot get traction on solid ice. Do not attempt to travel if forecasters are calling for ice accumulation. You will wreck your vehicle, and worse, you will take up emergency resources that could be helping someone else. Just stay home. Cancel your plans. It is not worth the risk. Also, if you lose power and the temperature inside your home drops below freezing, you need to protect your pipes. Open cabinet doors under sinks to let warm air circulate. Let faucets drip slightly to keep water moving. If pipes do freeze and burst, know where your main water shutoff valve is located. Water damage from burst pipes after an ice storm can be just as expensive as the storm itself. Here is another consideration nobody talks about: isolation. If this storm is as bad as forecast, you might not be able to leave your home for 3 to 5 days. Are you mentally prepared for that? Do you have activities to keep yourself and your family occupied? Board games, books, charged tablets with downloaded movies? Boredom and cabin fever are real psychological challenges during extended winter events. Now let me tell you what I am watching most closely as this forecast evolves. First, the exact position of the Arctic high pressure. If it sets up slightly further east, that pushes the ice zone east. If it sets up slightly further west, that pushes the ice zone west. Second, the moisture availability. How much precipitation does this system actually produce? More moisture means heavier snow and ice accumulation. Less moisture means less impact. Third, the storm speed. A slow-moving storm means longer duration impacts. A fast mover limits the accumulation. Fourth, and this is critical, I am watching for any signs the storm could strengthen into a bomb cyclone as it moves up the east coast. If the low pressure drops 24 millibars in 24 hours, that is the definition of explosive cyclogenesis. It would turn this into a blizzard for the mid-Atlantic and Northeast with potential for 2 to 3 feet of snow in some areas. The European AI model is hinting at this possibility. It is not the most likely outcome, but it is within the realm of possibility. For those of you along Interstate 95 from Richmond to Boston, this is definitely a forecast to monitor closely. The difference between a 6-inch snow event and an 18-inch snow event might not be clear until 48 hours before it happens. But either scenario would cause massive travel disruptions. If you have travel plans for this weekend or early next week, you should be making backup plans right now. Airlines will waive change fees for weather events, but only if you act before the chaos begins. Here is something I find fascinating from a meteorological perspective. The ingredients for this storm are still well out over the Pacific Ocean right now. That disturbance is 4,000 plus miles away from where it will eventually cause impacts. Yet the models can see it, track it, and predict with remarkable accuracy what it will do when it arrives. That is the power of modern weather forecasting. We have days of advance warning for events that a generation ago would have caught people completely off guard. But that advance warning is only valuable if people act on it. And that is why I am making this detailed forecast now 5 days ahead of time, even though some details will certainly change. The time to prepare is before the emergency, not during it. Once the storm is 12 hours away, it is too late. The stores are mobbed. The roads are already getting slick. Emergency services are overwhelmed. You have to be ahead of the curve. Let me give you one more piece of information that might help put this in perspective. The National Weather Service has a scale for winter storms called the Northeast Snowfall Impact Scale. It goes from 1 to 5, with 5 being extreme. Based on current forecasts, if the higher-end solutions verify, this storm could rate as a 4 or even a 5 for some areas. That would make it a historic, crippling winter storm with major disruptions to transportation and utilities lasting several days or even weeks. Now, I want to address the people who are excited about this storm because you love snow. I get it, snow is beautiful, snow days are fun, but this particular setup has the potential to cause real hardship for a lot of people. Yes, some areas might get amazing snow totals perfect for sledding and snowmen, but other areas are going to get ice that knocks out power for vulnerable populations in freezing temperatures. This is not a snow day to hope for. This is a serious weather event to prepare for responsibly. Here is my final word on this forecast, and this is where I need you to pay very close attention. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, you are going to see this storm forecast evolve rapidly. New model runs will come in every 6 hours. Each one will show slightly different details. Do not get caught up in the noise. Focus on the big picture. A major winter storm is coming to the southern and eastern United States this weekend. It will bring some combination of heavy snow, significant ice, and dangerous cold. The exact details of who gets what are still being determined. But everyone from Texas to Maine needs to be preparing right now. Comment below and tell me where you are located. I will do my best to give you a specific forecast for your area as we get closer to the event and the details become clearer. The more information you share about your location, the better I can tailor the forecast. Are you in the mountains or the valleys, north or south-facing slopes, urban areas or rural? All of these factors will influence what you experience during this storm. And here is what you can expect from me over the next several days. I will be putting out updated forecasts at least twice a day as new model data becomes available. I will go live if conditions warrant to provide real-time updates. I will break down the latest information in a way that is easy to understand and actionable. You do not need a meteorology degree to prepare for this storm. You just need clear, honest information delivered in time to act on it. The bottom line is this. We are 5 days away from what could be one of the most significant winter storms in years for the southern United States. The forecast models are in rare agreement about the threat. The ingredients are aligning perfectly for major impacts, and the time to prepare is right now, not tomorrow, not Thursday, but today. Get your supplies, make your plans, check on your neighbors, and stay tuned for updates as this situation develops. This is the kind of storm that people will remember for years. Where were you during the Great Ice Storm of 2025? What did you do to prepare? How did you help others? Those are the questions that will matter when this is over. Do not be caught off guard. Do not assume it will miss you. Take this seriously, prepare appropriately, and we will all get through this together. Stay safe out there, and I will talk to you